Blessings, everyone. This is Chris Kennel from therawadvantage.com, registered holistic nutritionist, raw food lifestyle coach, and raw chef. Today, I feel blessed to share with you a food demo I just did on Chef AJ Live, showcasing my cheesy noodles from my brand new 21-day fall meal plan, all a part of the ultimate raw vegan bundle. Available now. Let's get into it.
Baby, I like it raw. Raw Advantage likes it raw. Ooh, baby, I like it raw. Yeah, baby, I like it raw. Hey.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. Today's chef has been on the show before, but he's not only going to be making a wonderful recipe, low-fat, raw, vegan, cheesy noodles, but he's going to tell you about a tremendous value that you can receive from his ultimate raw vegan bundle. And I'm actually a part of it. I'm one of the contributors, and I am going to be having 13 of the chefs that wrote these wonderful ebooks. There's, I believe, over 50 ebooks and programs worth like $3,200 for $50. And we're going to have many of them on for the next 2 weeks. It ends on November 1st at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. And to kick off the ultimate raw vegan bundle, welcome back, Chris Kendall. Great to see you again, all the way from Sweden.
I'm in Sweden, yes, but I don't normally sound like this. I'm going to get slapped around for that. But thank you so much for having me back on. It's such a joy to be here with you and everyone live, and for you to be a part of the bundle again. This is our second bundle. It's going to be amazing.
No, I'm so happy I met you through that, that thing that we were doing. I remember that we did something for Dr. Doug Graham, and I put out, hey, anybody want to be on my show? And literally the only people that said yes, well, actually there were three, you, Ocean, and Karen, and you're all in the bundle, and you're all on my show the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, that really shocked me, but I'm really happy I answered the call and was really blessed by you inviting me on. This is my third.
I think it's your third time, and then you came on with Lissa against that fabulous Iron Chef that you guys did. Well, people are so interested in raw food, and it doesn't have to be an all or nothing. Like, you don't have to be 100% raw to enjoy raw food. And I've always enjoyed the beauty and the artistry and the creativity of raw food. Even though I'm no longer raw, I think that eating more raw food is just going to help so many people. And I love the way you did your bundle, that it's a low-fat bundle. It's not, because a lot of the raw stuff is like really decadent coconut oil, and it's raw, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily healthy. But there's one course in your bundle, it's like $2,000. It's like, it's worth the price of the just to get that one course.
100%. Yeah. And there's so many books in there that are between like $10 to $50 themselves. And with over 55 books, it's like 91 cents a book. So it's pretty ridiculous. One of the cool things about it as well is that every single book in the bundle is brand new, made specific for it. So it's not repeats, not old stuff you've already had or looked at. And so it really is going to blow everyone away. And something that's really fun, Chef AJ, too, that you took part in as well, is the group collaboration holiday book. Which the cool thing about that is that, like, most of the bundle creators came together and submitted 1 or 2 recipes for this. There's 60 recipes in it. And that's going to be a collector's edition specific only to this bundle. So you get that's worth $50 by itself, but it's not going to be sold outside of the bundle or after this bundle. So if you want to check that out, you're going to want to just get the bundle.
I know, exactly. That book is so beautiful. You guys did a great job. And a lot of people like Mandy and Diane are saying, where are the cats? I want to see the cats.
Well, the cat, I can hear her scratching. I think she's just going to the bathroom. But we don't use litter. They're actually going on the toilet right now. So hopefully we don't hear.
That's incredible. I didn't know you could. Did you train them to do that, or did they? That's amazing.
Yeah, we use this tool called the litter quitter, and it starts as like basically a little cat litter kind of box in the toilet, and then slowly a hole opens up in the middle, gets bigger and bigger until they get used to not using it. And we still use just a teeny bit around the outer ring. But they're going in there 90+% of the time, and otherwise in a safe spot. So
that is really incredible. I did not. I saw something like that. I think it was in a movie with Robert De Niro, but I didn't realize it was a real thing.
Yeah, I think it was Gypsy. That was a funny movie. That was a really funny movie.
That is incredible. So you are the king of low fat, one of the kings, and there are a few queens too, of low fat, raw, vegan cuisine. Everybody knows you for your pizza, that's for sure.
Yeah, I've gotten known for that a lot. Oh, we got one kitty here, fresh. There we go. This is a Leo. He wants to say hello.
He's so cute. His like paws are dipped in white.
Yeah, well, both of them, both the kitties we have are white tipped paws. So hopefully Snooter will come around as well. But yeah, pizza is one of my favorites. You know, it's funny, like the first 5 years of raw food I ate so simple, basically just eating fruits and vegetables as is, barely made any recipes, didn't really eat much fat or seasonings or anything. And as time went on, I started making a lot of different recipes to mimic old favorite foods and to really showcase it to other people. And pizzas became one that was like a big goal. So I made an entire book, Frickin' Russian Pizza, which people, they rave about because it tastes literally like cooked vegan pizzas.
It's amazing. I know that it's just, I wish, it's just so hard to get raw food out. Not that I go out anyway, but, really like in the early 2000s, there were so many raw restaurants and I don't think there are very many left.
Not quite, yeah, not as many, and it's wild. I didn't even see a restaurant for the first 7 years as raw being, in Saskatchewan. And then I saw the first one in Toronto, and there was a lot in California. But I think, but nowadays, yeah, there isn't really quite as many. I think part of that is because the low-fat raw vegan movement is growing more than the gourmet raw movement. And typically the restaurants are more kind of gourmet with heavy on the nuts and the oils and stuff like that. So while it's a really tasty treat, it's not something you really necessarily want to eat all the time.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because when I think about the raw restaurants like Roxanne's, which is closed, it was really like gourmet, lots of nuts in the lasagna and in the desserts. And I don't eat that way anymore.
Yeah, well, it's tasty, like I said, but it can kind of give you a gut bomb sometimes and not leave you feeling as good as you think you should from a raw food diet that people tout as really, really, really healthy, right? So I think a lot of people, and I've met some that were chefs or who started restaurants, and they kind of fell away from the diet because they weren't really eating it in a sustainable long-term way. And then the restaurants maybe just didn't have quite enough interest. I mean, maybe I'm just projecting, who knows, but that's what I've seen.
Well, Dr. McDougall said when he went to the Roxanne's, he was starving afterwards, but possibly it's because they also gave very small portions.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. I went to a lot of raw restaurants that I loved, but for me to feel satisfied and usually slightly a bit gross, I usually need to eat like 2 to 3 entrees and spend about $100. Whereas I would way rather, I just got like a week's worth of produce for that much, and some of my favorite things in the world. So for me, once I've done this long enough, I'd way rather just spend it on the whole fresh food rather than, a little bit more processed and condensed stuff. I went to a raw restaurant a year ago for our anniversary, Camilla and my anniversary, but that's been a year and a half, and that's the last time I went to one.
Wow. Yeah, I don't think they understand calorie density at most restaurants, raw or not, because they don't give you enough food at restaurants.
Yeah, no, that's true. I think that, and also I think a lot of times it's just raw is the focus rather than necessarily ease of digestion or health. And in many cases, it's still way healthier than just standard fare, absolutely, or processed junk food, 1,000%. But when health becomes the pinnacle of focus and good digestion becomes the pinnacle of focus, things shift a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So what have you got for us today?
Well, besides my little snooter cat who just came in here to say hello, she's my girl right here. Oh, Snooter's here.
Your cats are so adorable. It's like they're all wearing socks.
Yeah. And funny enough, we also have little cat socks here as well. We put them on all the chair feet.
That's so cute.
But what I have for you today is one of my favorite recipes that's in my book, that's in the bundle. The book I have in the bundle is called My 21-Day Fall Meal Plan. So it's got breakfast, lunch, pre-dinner, and dinner recipes, and it's all worked out so that it gives you enough calories, whether you're a semi-active, regular-sized female or a semi-active, regular-sized male, just a little bit more caloric need, and has like the shopping list all picked out and stuff like that, and loads of recipes. This is one of those from there that is one of my favorites. It's pretty darn tasty, pretty simple. I mean, what do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ingredients, and easy and quick to make, and it's hearty. It's one that actually would be surprising to most people. It has about 800 calories just from this here. And when you see the portion, it's not absurd. I mean, low-fat raw vegans are known for eating huge portions because of the caloric density and the water content and fiber. You need to eat a lot. If you like to eat, raw veganism is for you. If you don't want to eat a lot of food, then it is probably not the best. But it's a hearty, delicious meal that I'm going to make for you today, and it's a simple one that you could expand on if you want to, but is perfect as is.
Great. And I see you have a spiralizer. I just got back from teaching at Rancho La Puerta, and we used the spiralizer. We spiralized zucchini. We spiralized butternut squash. What else can you spiralize?
Sometimes I'll spiralize daikon radishes or cucumbers, of course, zucchinis, carrots. I've even done parsnips or jicama, apples even, stuff like that. But it's pretty darn good, especially for a standard kind of pasta dish, a nice creamy one where the sauce is going to stick to the noodle quite a bit. I really love this spiralizer. I do have other ones that are finer that I like for some more like watery sauces that are a little bit less sticky. And then I also have this guy here, which is a julienne peeler, which is one of the best that I just travel with because it's so easy if you're out and about to just get nice linguine style noodles. But for this one today, we're going to use this here. So should we just jump right into it and start making food and rocking, you think?
And just tell again, what is your offering to the Ultimate Raw Vegan Bundle this year? Which is your course or book?
So my book in the bundle is actually called the 21-Day Fall Meal Plan. And so it's got like 30 some recipes for breakfast, lunch, and pre-dinner and dinner. And then also I'm a part of the group collaboration book as well.
Yep. I love that book. That's beautiful, the collaboration book.
And if I understand correctly, the link should be in the description of this video. So, if anyone wants to click that and open it in a new tab and check it out while we're going, or check it out afterwards, just in a new tab. You don't want to leave this. You want to be here the whole time, of course, but definitely check it out. And something to mention actually as well with that before we even get into this is beyond the 55 books worth over $3,200, there's also a whole bunch of lives that are mostly on Instagram covering as many topics as we could possibly cover, really important topics, interviews, some food demos. I'm teaching yoga twice, and those are all linked inside the live schedule on that website. So the same link will bring you to the site. You can click live schedule, and the live schedule will pop up. There's over 200 lives there over the next 12 days. And yeah, all the links are right there. So you can just boop and go right to the live right on time.
You guys are going to be busy.
Yeah, we are busy for sure. Absolutely. But it's for a good cause. And we are so passionate about this lifestyle. It's so fun to spread. So what I'll do here to make things a little easier is I'll explain all of the ingredients that are in this recipe first, and then we'll start making some noodles. So for the noodles, I'm using zucchini. You could otherwise use cucumber or even Napa cabbage sliced thinly. I love that as well. We have about 1 pound of zucchini. We got corn. Now, truthfully, I wanted to get fresh corn on the cob, but the farmer's market here ran out on Friday, just past Friday. So what I have here is organic corn kernels, and we have 345 grams of corn kernels. That's about 3 cobs of corn. Then we have about 1/2 pound of tomatoes. I usually like plum or Roma for this because they're a little less watery and just a little bit more hearty, which is really nice for this sauce. We have
corn. Who runs out of corn?
I couldn't believe it. I thought it was going to be going a lot longer. They might even have it this week, but the vendors there, they didn't have it yesterday or today. So, and I ate the last week too that I had. So we have here about 0.15 pound or 70 grams of arugula or rocket if you're in Australia. Oh, Snooter, you'd better not jump up there. He's eyeing up the tower where the camera is. Snooter. Snooter, she snoots into everything. We have a 1/4 cup of really nice pumpkin seeds. And we have about a 1/4 cup of sun-dried tomatoes. So what we're gonna do is just chop a little bit off the end of this zucchini and leave a teeny bit of the stem. You'll see why. And I'm going to Connect it to the old spiralizer with the stem end against the spikes. And the butt end right into the middle. And I'll just make it right onto this and hope that the bowl that I grabbed is big enough. If not, I'll grab another bowl. Now, if you're really being like super classy and presenting this, what you might want to do is peel the zucchini first so that there's not the little green ends on all the noodles. But I like this. This is nice organic zucchini. There's a lot of nutrition in the skin, so I'm gonna keep the skin on here. But otherwise, you can cut it off. And as easy as about 20 seconds, you get a whole bunch of these delicious zucchini noodles.
You know, they even sell already spiralized noodles now in the store, both in the fresh and frozen section.
It's so awesome. Yeah, and zucchini, I've seen beets too. I didn't even mention beets, and squash too. It's so awesome. And then you get one of these zucchini weenies, or I don't know what else you want to call it, but
Zucchini weenie, that's cute. That's exactly what it is.
We'll just break that off. Oh, I'm sorry. We'll break that off and just throw it into the Vitamix. And here is just the stem. So that way I left a little bit of stem on so that I don't really end up wasting any. We have all these beautiful noodles. Now, let's just see if this fits. And if not, I have a bigger bowl that won't look as pretty for the video, but yeah, we're gonna have to stir it in a bigger bowl, but that's fine. So I'm gonna put them in this nice silver bowl for stirring and then dump it in there for the final presentation, I think. If you want, you could get some scissors and chop up the noodles if you don't want that giant long noodle, kind of like Lady and the Tramp. But if you're sharing it with someone else, you might actually want those big noodles, right?
I've done that in demos where I've done the Lady and the Tramp thing. Yeah.
Oh, who'd you do it with?
Oh gosh. His name, he was an ex-NFL football player. It was on the cruise ship. His name was, I believe it was Troy. Hope he's not watching. Ooh. I can't remember his name, but it was fun. I used to do it in cooking classes too. People always get a kick out of it.
Absolutely. I wish I had Camilla here to do, but she'll be on next Friday, and she is out in the forest right now. But
oh, that's your Camilla that's booked. Okay, well, like how many Camillas are there, right?
Well, there's some, but yeah, no, that's my Camilla. So, or she's Camilla, and we're together. But
yes,
so
I just want to. Yeah, you might have come in late, Curly Girl, but yes, all the recipes in this bundle, every offering is new, and the whole new book made from all the chefs, the holiday book. So yes, even if you bought the last bundle in April, which was fantastic, I did the Ted Carr course, which was like
amazing.
Yes, everything is new.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the things we really wanted to do is make everything brand new and then have all these lives to make it almost like a virtual retreat, you know? There's a lot of online virtual courses and stuff that don't even have 200 calls, right? We're trying to turn it out for everyone to make it as fun and easy as possible to succeed with raw food. So we got the noodles there. That's basically it. What we're going to do is take these tomatoes and we're going to cut off about a quarter. Now, what I usually will do is cut off the top part, and the stem part I'll throw in the blender because the bottom part or the top part that's nice, that can be diced up. So I'll just roughly cut off a quarter of each tomato, and that way too we're not getting the juiciest bits to go in the noodles. We don't want to water out the noodles. So just a quick chop. And I'm putting the tomatoes in the blender first because they are the more watery portion of the sauce, and that'll make it a lot easier to blend, especially if you don't have a really high-powered blender like the Vitamix. So I'm just gonna give these guys a nice loose chop, nice salsa-style dice.
Are there any raw fooders that don't have a Vitamix?
Some sad ones, you know, or ones that just aren't in the know, or just
I mean, that kind of is an essential tool.
It's pretty dang awesome. And you know, I just got an upgrade, which I'll show you in a second, which is pretty darn awesome as well, which I was going to use for the recipe, but because of the nature of the recipe, it's actually going to be easier not to. And while this seems pretty cryptic, it's going to become very clear in just a moment. So I have these guys here, and I'm actually going to put those on this little plate where the tomatoes were to garnish near the end. And what I was just kind of cryptically talking about is this BioChef vacuum attachment that goes on the Vitamix. So this is really,
I have heard of that.
I'm using it for most of my recipes, but because I'm using this arugula, and you'll see that later. I don't want to break the spell. This container works on the Vitamix. It's got a special top on it that gets completely airtight, and then you put the BioChef thing on there, and it sucks most of the oxygen out as much as it possibly can, which leads to smoother sauces, more savory, more tasty, more rich, less air bubbly, more antioxidant rich sauces, smoothies, whatever you're making, is pretty darn cool. So that's a new thing that we've been using, but I'm not going to be using today, and you'll see why very shortly. So we have the tomatoes in there. I'm going to add the corn, which again, fresh is going to be best, but otherwise in a pinch, frozen organic corn is good. And on top of that, we will add, we'll put in half the sun-dried tomatoes just to see, make sure it blends up really good. And we'll put the pumpkin seeds in there. And you might need to plug your ears because we're going to blend this until it's completely and totally smooth. So the reason I wasn't using that vacuum one was just in case I need to use the tamper, and that's the one thing with the vacuum compartment. You obviously can't use the tamper when it's fully vacuumed. I probably won't need it for this part, but for the second part, adding the arugula without actually completely pulverizing it, I might need it. So we'll turn this on real quick.
Guys, check out the bundle if you haven't. It's really beautiful. They did a spectacular job with the photos in all the books. And the TED card course is great if you're trying to get a vegan business off the ground. This is a new one. This is a weekend one. So, and I've contributed videos one day of the Ultimate Weight Loss Conference that happened in Las Vegas.
Quite thick, so I need to tamper it down.
And you know, the Zoom did mute it. So sometimes, Mandy says she loves how you knew that arugula was called rocket.
Oh, yes. I mean, with a name like that, it's hard to forget, and it just sounds so cool. Like, even though I'm not an Aussie, I love to say rocket.
I think more kids would eat it if it was called rocket. I mean, it is, but if we called it that, because it's a more fun, like you say, it's a more fun name.
We could start a campaign. We could just go for it. No. Switch the name in solidarity for Australia.
So guys watching live, how much raw food do you guys normally eat in a day? A salad, a piece of fruit? Are you guys high raw?
So there we have it, and it's pretty darn smooth. This is like with corn, it is a benefit to have a really good blender like the Vitamix or Blendtec or a Waring, something like that that's really strong, because corn otherwise can be a little bit chunky. Now what we're going to do is add all of this arugula. Now the reason I'm using the arugula, I actually developed this recipe when I was even a little more strict of a raw foodist than I am now, keeping it really hygienic, meaning not utilizing ingredients that are overly stimulating or irritating to the body, like onions or garlic. You could otherwise, of course, use just some onion or a little bit of garlic in there, which I do now have on occasion. But this is a fun one for all those hygienists out there who want to keep it real simple. And it's a fun way to also just add a ton of mineral density by using arugula, which is such an amazing green, or rather using the rocket, right? It's a sneaky way to get a ton of super nutrient dense greens right into your sauce. So you're having a noodle salad, but you're not noticing the salad just in the sauce, right? So this is where the tamper really comes in. I'm gonna just push that down, and then we're gonna turn on the blender at a low speed, no higher than about 2.5. And then we're just gonna push the rocket right into the blade. There we go. Nice. probably pretty darn good. Yeah, that's really, really good. Now, like I said, this is a pretty simple way of doing it. And if you want it to be a little fancier, you want it to be a little more gourmet, or you just want to try something else out, you could add a little bit of lemon juice, or you could add a little bit of hot pepper, or like I said, some garlic, or you could even put a little bit of nutritional yeast if you wanted to make it extra cheesy. But it is really, really good as it is here. In the interest of not having a Lady in the Tramp moment and easier stirring, I'm just going to do a quick loose chop to make a little bit shorter noodles, which also you could end up making like mac and cheese if you cut these noodles a little smaller to just little teeny U's, right? That works really nice as well. And we're going to pour that right on top. It's pretty thick. It's not really pouring. Amazingly, I brought a spatula, which I almost never grab, but managed to before the show started. Oh my. So check that out.
What? So, do raw foodists use nutritional yeast? Some do, some don't. What's the skinny on that?
Yeah, some do, some don't. I remember, like I said, when I first got into raw food, I was actually a lot more strict, and I was really following a very simple natural hygiene approach to raw food. And the view in that way of thought was that nutritional yeast is one, contains analogs, and two, it's not really a health food in the point that it's a byproduct of the molasses industry. And a lot of people don't realize that a lot of the nutrients that are touted on it are actually sprayed on synthetic vitamins that are added after the fact. So it's kind of like a byproduct that was marketed to health conscious people as basically kind of like a cheesy supplement. And because it does taste pretty good and contains glutamic acid, which is really similar, it's not MSG, but it's similar to, it does kind of give you that like, whoa, like umami flavor. So it's almost kind of addictive, right? Some people will not give up their nooch, that's for sure, right? And interestingly enough, originally I didn't know that it was supplemental B12. I thought there was actually analogs, but it is truthfully actually a supplemental B12 on there. So, it's a way that some people also supplement B12 is through utilizing nutritional yeast. So, yeah, so really in short, I guess some people love it and some people think it's the devil in the raw food camp, but I don't really see it as extreme on other side. Not something I'd make meals of, but if I use it in a special dish like a pizza, or if I had it in here, I just enjoy it, and probably not do it every day. So these noodles are looking pretty darn good. I'm going to add a little bit of the tomato and stir those in. It is so thick and creamy, and you wouldn't know it, you wouldn't believe it until you try it, but corn honestly makes the absolute best low-fat vegan cheese out there, whether you're doing it raw or whether you're doing it cooked. I've also seen people doing cooked sweet potato cheese, which I'm sure is really amazing as well. But I tell you, this is one that will surprise anyone. You make it, they won't realize what it is. And it just tastes delicious. And that rocket is a amazing addition to the flavor profile. Really pops it out. Unfortunately, it spilled all over the side of the bowl and totally wrecked my presentation. I'm totally thrown off my game and completely embarrassed now. But the show must go on. So I will add some tomatoes on top and try to, you could always put a little bit of a cilantro garnish on top if you like, or parsley too, get a little bit fancier. And there we have it. Look at this. Oh, I better not come towards you without something like a spoon. Here you have it. Look at that.
That looks
pretty delicious.
That looks delicious. Do you ever like dehydrate it just to warm it up a little bit?
Yeah, I actually have done that before, and I've even kind of spread it out and dehydrated it almost into like cheese bread, which is pretty darn good. You could actually flatten this out and turn it into like a mini pizza crust or nest, or even a a bread that you put a whole bunch of sliced tomatoes in and make like some kind of a sandwich as well. It's really tasty.
That sounds delicious. I mean, it looks delicious. Everything you make looks delicious.
Oh, that's kind.
How many
Should I give
lives have you done today so far with your the launch of this wonderful bundle? Guys, just click it. You don't have to buy it, but click it. It's amazing what you'll see what you get for.
Absolutely.
I mean, any of those offerings is worth $50, and you get like 55. I don't know how you can afford to do this, but it's amazing.
It's pretty darn amazing. Absolutely. And I mean, and even if you don't go for the bundle, check out all the lives. Because like we said, there's actually 230 plus. I think it's 236. And I'm not saying watch every single one. It's impossible because some of them are at the same time.
You know what? It is impossible because there's only 167 hours in the week.
Wow. 167 hours. Well, there is 12 days. So
yeah, that's true. So maybe they could do it. Yeah.
Maybe could, but a lot of them, though, they will be saved on everyone's individual Instagrams, and I'm going to put some up on YouTube in the coming weeks and months too, sharing those out and chopping them up a little bit. So you'll be able to, but I mean, even if you just look at the schedule, you'll be able to pick out the 10, 15 or 2 or 5, whatever it is that just jump out to you or on a topic you were wondering about, because we go into some controversial stuff and also just interviews and stuff. So it's a lot of fun. It's going to be really, really good.
What is controversial in the raw food world?
Oh, well, there is some stuff that's going to be talking about like different types of fasting or dry fasting, stuff like that.
Well, that's not good. Dry fasting. Yeah. You need to talk to Goldhammer. I hope none of the people are recommending that. That's very dangerous.
Not at all. Not at all. No, definitely
thank goodness. Whew.
No. So yeah, and there's some that are just actually on like raw vegan myths and stuff like that and debunking. And so there's a lot. I'm not trying to say there's tons of kind of stuff like that, but there's a lot of topics that I think need more attention to help people to live a happier, healthier, more streamlined, healthy raw food diet. So that's what we're trying to do, is turn out not only delicious food, but a lot of really good education to make this easier for everyone. Because when you get it, it's so much fun and it's so delicious, and we just want to spread that.
And you do it so quickly too. You're not spending hours doing it.
No, and truthfully, it's funny because while I'm a chef, I'm a pretty lazy chef, and I usually like to just spend like 15, 20 minutes in the kitchen, and I can spend an hour or two, just like, my mom used to on Thanksgiving or wherever, right? Maybe all day sometimes. I can do that too if I need to, but most of the time I prefer just to make it quick. Like today, all I've had is I sat down and I ate a whole bunch of cherimoyas. I just cut them in half, had a spoon. I had 2 meals of cherimoyas today. I'm looking at another cherimoya back there, probably before I really eat this. And then there's this, and that's good for the whole day.
Wow. What do you do for Thanksgiving, Chris?
Truthfully, my favorite dish of all time is one that I made on a previous show. So we should almost hook that up in the show notes. It's Chris's creamy curry or cocoa butter veggies. I believe I made the 3.0 or the 2.0. Maybe the 2, but one of those 2.
It was where you had that trick where you freeze the cauliflower, right?
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. And so usually for Thanksgiving or a special occasion, I'm either making myself a giant curry or I'm making myself a pizza. Occasionally I make a lasagna or burgers or shepherd's pie. But probably my most consistent really has been the curry.
Yeah. All you guys are spread out. None of you live in the same area, or I mean, some of you possibly do, but as I learn more about the raw food way of life, I mean, the people I've been interviewing, one was in Israel. You guys are everywhere. So Who are you friends with? Because there's not a lot of you. You know what I mean? It's hard enough sometimes to find vegan friends, let alone, but who are all your friends?
Well, I'm pretty darn blessed in that, everywhere I go, I end up meeting with and connecting with people who either are vegan, high raw, or all raw. Interestingly enough, here in Malmo, Sweden, where I'm at, I have 2 really close friends that are both high raw vegans and skateboarders. So they're the people I hang out with the most. And otherwise, my girlfriend, of course, I hang out with Camilla a whole bunch. And I also, it's funny because, I've been a raw vegan for over 17 years now. I'll be 18 in spring. And more, I don't feel like I need to. It's not that I don't love hanging out with like-minded raw vegans and vegans, but it's not like a first priority by any means. So I make friends with everyone, because that way you're going to be spreading it a whole bunch more. The more people see it normalized and you're having fun and not feeling threatened by each other or weirded out, and just talking and sharing when it's appropriate or when it's brought up, it spreads that message even further.
Yeah, yeah. And so it's just interesting because I always feel like what my resistance is to maybe going raw is what other people, they have resistance to even going vegan, like, oh, it's going to be too hard. I'm going to be hungry, it's not going to taste good, all these kind of things,
Yeah, it's true. And there's always going to be roadblocks, but it's just, what are we focusing on? And for me, I'm focusing on one, it just feels so damn good and it tastes so good. And it's actually easier in my mind than veganism, just plain veganism, but because I know if it's not basically like a whole fruit or vegetable, it's not really my food. And I just throw 3 things in a smoothie and boom, I'm done. And when I feel like it, I spend about the same amount of time in the kitchen as my girlfriend does when she's cooking something up, and it's less cleanup time, so I find it actually easier, but the other thing too is, if people are asking questions or if they're not understanding it, I don't always have to answer. And I got a billion different answers I could give. And most of the time people are just either threatened or concerned. So I try and meet them where they're at.
Yeah. Well, I think if people could taste the food, I think there'd be a lot less resistance. But the kind of food that you guys do, like you and Lissa, I feel like it's gourmet and low fat at the same time. It's really not available anywhere,
It's something, like back in the day, like I said, I was making really simple food that was just low fat, hygienic. And then I started wanting to make more low fat, raw gourmet. And that's what we're bringing to this bundle. There's a mix of simple stuff, and there's a mix of the low fat, raw gourmet. And if someone's not sure, this is absolutely the best chance to try the largest range of recipes for the lowest price possible. After these 12 days, all the books are going to be on sale on their respective sites, from $9 to $50 each book individually. So
I know that is so crazy. Okay. Here's a great question from Mandy. What book or recipe are you looking forward to trying from the bundle? I can answer that too, because Lissa Maris has a book on party food that just knocked my socks off.
Yeah, I was looking at that, and the quesadillas or quesadillas, whatever you want to say, quesadillas. Those look really amazing. Her quiche looks really darn amazing. I'm actually going to be making my friend Daniel McKinnon. He's going to be on here as well.
Dan's going to be on the show. We have a Danielle coming on and a Daniel.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to be making his moss dogs, so using Irish moss hot dogs, which I haven't had a successful raw vegan hot dog. So I'm going to be trying that one out. Really, there's so many recipes in there that I want to. Chef Ocean's on there. He has some pretty mean looking curries, and then Chef Yin, she's going to be on here too.
She's going to be on Friday.
Yeah, like cuisine from all over Asia.
Oh my God, your cat's eating the noodles. That's hilarious.
She loves a lot of it.
So funny. The cats are See, if a carnivore can enjoy a low-fat raw vegan meal, so can we.
Absolutely. She'll sit down to melons with me and just hang out, have a couple licks, and cuddle up.
You have the coolest cats. So here's a question from Kathy. What book would be one to start learning the raw lifestyle? Is there one in the bundle that is like more kind of beginning maybe for people that are new to raw foods?
Absolutely. There's actually quite a few. And, one that jumps out to me right now is from another long-term raw foodist named Peter Check. He's really, really great. He is actually also the founder of the Fresh Food Festival that was out in the Czech Republic, and then was in Denmark for a while, and is going to be moving back to the Czech Republic. And he has a book that I love the title. It's called Fruit Can Save Your Ass and the Planet Too. And it's really good. It goes into everything and is really well documented too. So that's a really great one. There's numerous books in there. Actually, a lot of the recipe books have amazing multi-chapter intros that go into the ins and outs. Lots of them that are busting myths and going over common misconceptions about raw food and how to make it simpler. But yeah, that's definitely a standout there.
One thing I wanted to ask, because I recently interviewed a doctor, and they were talking about how mushrooms, that's the one thing you have to cook them. Now, do the raw foodists believe that, or did they still eat mushrooms raw?
It's funny that it's awesome you bring that up, because that's been a subject that I've been interested in for over a decade, and I've done a ton of research on. And it might be surprising to a lot of people, but it doesn't matter what community you're in. Sometimes people just hear something, they repeat it without even doing their due diligence of really looking into the studies. And some of the newest studies have come out. Dr. Greger put out a study, put out a video recently talking about, that's a myth. You don't have to worry about eating or cooking your mushrooms. But what he didn't even go into in that is that the original studies that a lot of doctors and vegan doctors and people around the world always referred to and said you shouldn't because of the agarotine content could potentially be carcinogenic, so you should always cook just in case. And some people made a way bigger deal of it, and some made a little less and just said, it's probably to be on the safe side. But when you actually look into the studies that are referenced, one, they're done on mice and rats, and they're done with either isolates of agarotine, so not even a mushroom extract, it's like an isolated form of agarotine in quantities equivalent to a year's worth of servings at one dose. And I mean, you could take so many different nutrients from so many different foods, even from greens or from fruits. And if you concentrated it and isolated it, you'd have issues. Now, Dr. Greger goes into that more in his recent video that just came out in the last, I think, 3 or 4 or 5 months, and kind of blew the cork off that as well. And I was just really happy about that too, because like I said, I've been interested in this for a decade. I eat a lot of raw mushrooms. In fact, in my curry, I'm often eating about 300 grams of mushrooms 5 days a week, and I prefer to actually slightly dehydrate my mushrooms. And it is interesting if you're worried about agarotine, which doesn't really seem in appropriate quantities, there is really any concern. Dehydration, putting it in the sun, even freezing it, or just time after being picked, all reduces that level as well. So some recipes I freeze it, and then it makes it kind of stewed mushroom. I do that in some of my chilies or curries, or also pizzas. But
oh my God, the other kitty came. That's
hey,
hilarious.
Hey, Leo, they're the best. But yeah, so I don't find it to be a concern. I love mushrooms. My favorite are cremini, and I like some button and some shiitake sometimes, and some portobello sometimes to make some portobello pizzas or burger buns, even some oysters on occasion. They can be pretty darn tasty.
Yeah, I saw, we had, she's in the bundle, I believe, Star. She did something with, I think it was called king oyster mushroom.
Yeah, she makes some mean ones, and also Nate too makes a king oyster pulled. He calls it a pulled fork. He like takes it and like pulls it into a whole bunch of strands and puts a barbecue sauce on it. It's one of the best textures, to simulate old flavors and stuff like that. And interestingly enough, it's kind of funny. Like with all my research into mushrooms, I can't believe I didn't find this before. But just last week, I was doing some research, and shiitake mushroom is actually pretty rich in vitamin B12. And I didn't know that. I haven't seen much about that. But apparently, shiitake mushrooms are actually a decent source. It doesn't take a lot to utilize it as a supplement. Not that I'd necessarily say I know 100% that you could rely on it solely, but it is one of the few plant sources of bioactive B12.
Great. Somebody's saying mushrooms have intelligence and they're not plants. What, I don't know what that means. Have you heard that?
Yeah, for sure. Mushrooms are pretty wild in that they, some people say their spores came from outer space, and others, this the biggest, oldest living organisms in the world are the mycelial network and mushrooms. And I mean, mushrooms themselves are just actually the fruiting body. It's like the sexual organs of the network underneath the ground, which in one like square foot can be like miles of mushroom mycelial going underneath there. So it's a pretty crazy subject, and it doesn't really totally fit in the plant kingdom or the animal kingdom. It's pretty rare, the vegan who claims they aren't vegan, but there are some, but they are incredibly nutritious. And yeah, it's pretty wild when you go into that, like into the mystery of plants and fungi and trees. Like they all communicate with each other through the mycelial network, or at least that is a postulate definitely out there. It's pretty magical.
When people question the efficacy of a low-fat raw vegan diet, did they ever say, well, it's too expensive? And if so, how do you respond to that?
I've heard a lot of everything, but the funny thing is, again, it's all what you make of it. Like if I'm shopping at Whole Foods and I'm getting stuff out of season and I'm making certain recipes like all the time, I could be spending a couple $100 a week. Or I know some people who are like, I'm spending $1,000 a month. But, myself, I shop seasonally, or at the very least seasonally within my hemisphere. I go for the things that are the best quality at the best price, and I buy in bulk. And most of the time, I usually eat between about $5 to $15 a week, or a day, sorry, $5 to $15 a day. And lately out here, I've actually been checking it out, and I'm usually spending about $300 a month on food. So to me, that's quite affordable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Cool. Well, you're just very, I find that the people that are raw, they're very, well, kind for one, and just very, very, you kind of chill, you don't get your panties in a bunch.
Well, you got to be, because you're already everyone's enemy, and they're trying to push you away, and they don't like what you're doing, right? So,
Well, it's funny because even on the veganism, I mean, you got, if you think, I mean, I wanted veganism to be inclusive, and that includes even people that want to be junk food vegans. I don't care. I mean, I care, but I mean, I'd rather have somebody be a junk food vegan than be a carnivore. But it's always interesting to me what people eat and the spectrum of different ways to do veganism. And again, even if you're not a raw food, even if you're not a vegan, these recipes are so beautiful. Somebody's asking if today's recipe is in the bundle.
Yes, absolutely. This is in my 21-day fall meal plan book, along with a whole bunch of other really tasty ones. So there's so many recipes in there. You could be trying a new recipe every night for more than a year, guaranteed. Way more.
You're never going to get through them all. And there's even some for the dehydrator, and there's dessert ones, and there's breakfast ones. Joe wants to know, have you tried Mexican truffles, known in English as corn smut? Never heard of that.
That's a type of mushroom, hey? I don't think I've tried that. I have heard of a friend who tried eating a truffle that they found in the Costa Rican forest, to only find out later it probably wasn't a truffle, as they came down from some crazy experience a couple of days later. But yeah, I haven't had many truffles. Out here, we do pick some gold of the woods chanterelles, which are common out here, and they're delicious. I really like those. But I haven't tried the truffles. I know they're really amazing. I've had truffle oil on some raw food at a raw food restaurant before, which was pretty interesting.
Wow. Let's see. I saw a question. Mandy says, do you still have merchandise for sale on your website?
Yeah, absolutely. I do. I got lots of fun stuff. I mean, I got t-shirts, not this tie-dye. This was specialty made at the Woodstock Fruit Festival, but the Peace, Love, and Seasonal Fruit shirts I have there. I got, I think, 13 different t-shirts, 2 or 3 different hats, fanny packs, even panties. And then of course I even got, all my recipe books. I got like 9 recipe books, 4 or 5 of them in paper, and the rest as ebooks, online course, or my raw vegan lifestyle success system course. Got lots of stuff. Thank you so much, Mandy. I appreciate that chance to plug all my wares. Wow, that's great. Shameless.
Yeah. And Christine says, do you need a dehydrator to do this way of eating?
The first decade I was raw, I didn't have a dehydrator. I got one after, just for more textures and fun. And because as a chef, I wanted to create more recipes that mimic old flavors, textures, and just kind of that nostalgia, right? So you definitely don't need one. It can be fun to have one. If you have an oven that's gas powered, or one of the newer ovens, they often actually go down near dehydrating temperatures too. So it depends how like super strict you are. If you're like, it can never go above 118 or I'll die, you might be able to hang out with your oven to slightly warm a recipe. And it's a misconception too that you can't have warm stuff or you eat cold stuff all the time. In fact, I rarely eat cold stuff. I take stuff out of the fridge if it's been in the fridge for at least an hour or 2 before I eat it, so it's nice and room temperature. And otherwise, like if I'm making a sauce or a soup, you can either blend it until it's warm, which is it's a benefit to have that vacuum so that it doesn't oxidize as much. You can also put stuff on the stove and warm it up. Just, you just don't want to boil it down to, down a whole bunch, right? So.
Yep. Sybil says she's so excited about the new bundle. And I saw, let's see something here. Oh, any dehydrator recommendations? A lot of times people buy them and don't use them. I've seen them for great prices, practically brand new on eBay, in garage sales, because people buy them and then they're like, I'm never going to use this.
It's like fitness equipment, I tell you. Dehydrators are like fitness equipment. And sometimes you'll find a Vitamix blender in one of those too. So I'd always recommend that Kijiji or Craigslist or garage sales. But for actually really good dehydrators, the one I would look for the most is the Excalibur dehydrator.
That's the one I have. I had a chef on the show. He had one that like collapsed. It was like, I've never seen anything like it. It was like, it just collapsed. It's very, very.
You sit on it, or what happened there?
I don't know. No, it collapsed. Like that was the way it was for storage. Like you could collapse it. I thought, wow, that's amazing. No, it didn't collapse. Yeah, no. During the show, the dehydrator collapsed. Yeah. So can you ask Chris to summarize any confirmed or hypothesized benefits of raw versus vegan SOS free. I would say that most of the raw people are, well, they're definitely O free and they're definitely S free for sugar. And then they're either completely salt free. Sometimes I see them use a little coconut aminos, but that's what I love about this group is they eat the same as me, except for without the starch.
Yeah. No, it's hard because there aren't huge studies done on, really similar eating raw food is, because even within the raw food camp, there are different ways of doing it. The closest studies we have are the Seventh Adventists. And it is pretty cool because they actually do live a similar lifestyle, and they have some that are lacto-ovo, some that are vegetarian, some that are vegan, and some that are raw vegan. So they're able to actually, see different variables and see different health outcomes. And interestingly enough, and that's the best kind of scientific study for raw food that there is currently that I know of, in all but one variable, the raw foodists did actually come out on top. And I can't remember if the one variable was bone density, which is kind of interesting because they're a lighter body weight anyway, which normally would lead to being a little bit lower body or bone density because there's not as much pressure on the bones. But I can't say 100% if that was the one variable. But beyond that, just kind of through experience and, just the average person that I know, for example, when somebody has gone from raw food to vegan to cooked, whatever, all those different spectrums, it's very, very rare the individual that I know who says they felt better cooked, so just anecdotally, those who find balance with the raw food diet, who end up eating enough and having a nice array, a nice variety, getting enough from everything. Typically that's just it. They feel more peppy, they feel better, they feel more energetic, they feel like they recover faster, a little bit sharper. So that's why a lot of people, they go raw food and they may not stick 100%, but they always kind of have one foot in the door or a little bit back and forth, and find they feel their best when they are simplifying and just eating a whole bunch of raw food.
Do you know any athletes that are raw vegan, low fat raw vegans? Yeah,
loads, definitely. Lots of them are endurance and long distance athletes. Like you get the fruitarian Mike Arnstein and Grant Campbell, the raw Aussie athlete, who's in the bundle as well. We got Doug Graham, who's going to be on here as well, who, he's going to be in it's not strong powerlifting competition soon, and he's nearing 70 and he's doing pretty amazing. Myself, I'm an active skateboarder and like to do all that kind of fun stuff. I have a friend, Mike Velocity, who's a raw food bodybuilder on the low fat raw food plan. And there's a whole bunch more. Ted Carr was an active triathlete for a long period of time. And a lot of people know Brendan Brazier, who is a well-known triathlete who is raw vegan for a long period of time. I don't know if he is anymore, but there definitely are a lot of examples of raw vegan athletes.
That is so cool. You have to introduce me to Ted Carr sometime. I'd love to have him on the show.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll definitely connect you guys.
So somebody's asking me, what food group am I in? So if you mean like the way I eat low fat SOS free, but I eat starch. So I guess I just hate, that's my camp, I guess, the Google camp, but yeah. I love raw food and I love the recipes and I think they're fantastic. And I went to the culinary school I went to was raw. So question, do you eat onions and garlic raw of course, because if you're raw, you have to eat them raw. So that would
Yes. I eat onions much more often than I eat garlic, but I do eat both on occasion. Most of the time when I'm eating onions, it's either like a mild white or red onion or a green onion or chive. And most of the time, it's either like chives or green onions chopped up, the green part in something, or otherwise the bulb in the blender to add some flavor to the sauce. I've gone long periods of time without them, like 5+ years without any at all. And there are some benefits to that, but I do also enjoy the taste of it. And sometimes too, that's another kind of fun one, which I do with the cauliflower. If you chop up onion and freeze it, it lessens the irritating qualities a little bit, but also too, when it thaws out, it's really soft and seems almost like sauteed onions.
Yeah, that's really cool. Your freezing trick. When I say you, I mean raw foodists, you can't really eat legumes, right? Because
no, you can eat most, not all, but say like lentils or mung beans or adzuki beans or garbanzos. I actually have some garbanzos over there that are sprouting right now. I don't a lot, and I went probably a decade without any sprouts like that at all. But I do enjoy them time to time, especially for different dishes. Like if I'm making a falafel, I want to add some sprouted chickpeas, and if I'm making some dal, because I make some Ethiopian or some East Indian dals, I want to have some sprouted lentils in there, right? And if I'm making a burger, I might blend up some sprouted lentils, and it makes it more kind of meaty and dense, right? So beyond that, of course, there's a really dense nutrition and some different amino acids in more concentrated form in lentils. So it can be a nice addition and boost up your protein if you enjoy it. But yeah, they can be a lot of fun.
Jackie says that the raw bundle is amazing, and Alexi says she doesn't see fanny packs on your website.
Oh no! Well, they must have sold out, but I do have fanny packs also on my spring Teespring. So if you write the Raw Advantage Limited fanny pack in Google, so the Raw Advantage fanny pack limited, the Raw Advantage Limited fanny pack, it will pop up. And I have some brand new ones, which I could grab, but I'd have to go off camera for probably 10 seconds. So I don't know if that's worth it or not.
That's up to you. Question, are there any raw chef certification course recommendations?
Truthfully, that's kind of a tough one. There are some people, even Chef Ian in the bundle, she has a smaller course. I don't know if it's a certification, but just some courses on how to make certain foods. And there are a bunch that make a little bit more gourmet. Because I am, really simple, low fat, I don't know any that really are that way. And I mean, the whole bundle is all focused on simple, low fat, raw vegan, right? Let me think. I know some.
Hey, if Dr. Graham taught a course, this would be his course. Take a banana, peel it, eat it.
Well, the funny thing is, I did put it in the course, and I don't know 100% if he's still holding it. And if he is, then that is probably one of the best ones that's out there. It's called, what was it? Food and Sport is his website. Food and Sport, Simply Delicious. Oh, I can't remember, but he has a pretty cool culinary course as well that I did go to like 10 years ago, which was really darn good. And yeah, there needs to be more out there, and I'm sure there will be more in the near future.
And I was just teasing. We love Dr. Graham. I had a whole week worth of shows. Well, Chris, this is great. Thank you so much. And well, I see one more question about nuts. They're saying, how do you feel about eating nuts? They're cooked. Not all nuts are cooked. I mean, you can open a nut from the shell yourself. Yeah,
absolutely. And, nuts are less heat sensitive than some other foods. And as long as you can sprout it, like you can get some nuts that we've heat processed to some extent, but still are viable and still sprout. Myself, though, I typically actually don't eat a lot of nuts. On occasion, I eat walnuts. I actually have some walnuts from a tree we got in Gotland gifted to us. But for the most part, I usually eat seeds. So I really like the hemp seeds, the chia seeds, flax seeds, pumpkin seeds. And yeah, those are my favorite. And yeah, I'm really not worried about it. I don't think any of those are roasted. And if you wanted, you could soak them and sprout them.
Great. Well, thanks so much. And tomorrow we have Jade Turnquist, and she's going to be making from the bundle an apple pie.
Ooh, fancy. Yeah, Jade's amazing. Her book looks really, really delicious. I'm excited for that one too.
Well, thank you so much, because you really helped book all these guests for me. So I really appreciate it, because I'm not as connected as you are. I mean, really, you and Lissa are on my peeps. And so now I'm going to be meeting a lot of other great people throughout the next week.
We're the raw connection here, Chef. It's nice to have you with.
You're adorable. Tell your mother she has a very nice son. I really, really just enjoy having you on the show. Thanks so much, Chris.
Thank you so much, AJ. Much love to you and everyone out there. I hope you guys enjoy it. Check out all the lives, check out the bundle while it's there, and enjoy all the shows with Chef AJ this week and beyond. It's such a pleasure every time.
Well said. Take care, everyone. See you tomorrow.
Raw vegan cheesy noodles on Chef AJ Live. Be sure to check out all our other shows.
Ooh, don't forget to check out my raw recipes playlist in the top left, the video just for you in the top right, subscribe for more videos in the bottom right, and get your 3 free ebooks in the bottom left. Grab your free raw recipe app, available on iPhone and Android, with over 100 free raw recipes, common fruit and vegetable calorie breakdown, frickin' raw, some food combining chart, shopping cart function, and so much more.